So in this video, I'd like to give an overview of performance and what you can expect with different configurations of CPU and graphics card. And I'm making the video because one of the viewers asked me about his configuration, which I think was a GeForce 2070 and an Intel i9 from 2020. And I'm in a unique position to rate performance because until very recently, I had a really old PC which I played Star Citizen on. Then I upgraded everything: graphics card, mainboard, CPU. Okay, so what can you expect? So I'm currently, as you can see here, I'm playing on about 50 FPS. I'm above New Babbage. I'm watching the sun go up. And I'm playing almost on all settings maxed out right now. And there's a basic rule in this game. The closer you are to a landing zone, the worse your FPS will get, because your CPU has to load in a lot more entities, I think. Your graphics card, at least if you get close to landing zones, doesn't have that much leverage over the performance. Also, the good news is, depending how I look at it, currently the graphics in this game don't look that different compared from very low settings to very high settings. Because the things that look good in this game look good because of features that are not that dependent on the latest graphics card. Okay, first I'll start with clouds. Everybody says you should turn off clouds to get better FPS. However, it's limited how much that is true. So I'm currently playing on high clouds, not on very high clouds. Okay, see, I've got 55 FPS, looking at really nice clouds in New Babbage. Okay, now let's go to graphics. See, everything is very high. Highest setting possible. And where's the clouds? Also, I'm playing on a 1080 resolution on a 24-inch monitor. Okay, let me see, where's the cloud settings? Yeah, planet volumetric clouds, it's on high. Now let's set it to very high. And I'm at 58 FPS right now. Set the clouds to very high. Now, do you see much of a difference? I lost 15 FPS, but the visual difference, the grain looks a bit different on the edge of the clouds. But if you wouldn't have paid attention to me changing the cloud quality, would you notice the difference here? So you get a pretty considerable performance hit if you set the clouds to very high. However, you don't get much visual increase from it. Okay, now let's set it from very high to off. Okay, where's the graphics? My FPS jumped to 59, 61, 59. You see now, I got 3 FPS more than I got on high settings. Only 3 FPS, but the clouds are completely gone. Okay, which means the difference between clouds off and clouds high is almost nothing. 3 FPS. Okay, let me set it to high again. At the clouds high. See, now 3 FPS less again. So anybody who tells you to turn off the clouds, that's not good advice. Set your clouds set it at least to high, no matter what graphics card you have. Only if you set it to very high, you get really bad FPS. Also, I did that test with my old graphics card a few weeks ago. It was a 1060 GeForce, which I bought, I think, in 2016, which is, I think, 7 years old by now. And I had the same thing. The clouds had almost no performance impact, cloud settings, except if I went from high to very high, but often high had almost no performance impact. Of course, my overall performance was much lower. So with this current configuration, for example, if I go to the landing zone, to the expo center, I get 35, 40 FPS. With my old PC, I would get 15 to 20 FPS. So if you play on a mid-range or far lower configuration than I have right now, the further you get away from cities, the better your FPS will be. So for example, if you go to Port Tresla, which is the space station above Microtech, I would get 15 to 20 FPS with my old PC, which was a 1060 GeForce and an Intel CPU from, I think, an i7 6700 from 2016. And on Port Tresla, I would get 15 to 20 FPS. However, if I would go from Port Tresla to a Lagrange point station, those far away from landing zones, like millions of kilometers away, then I would get 50, 60 FPS. The game would be completely fluid. And the settings were high to very high. And the thing is, the visual difference between Lagrange stations and microtext stations is almost nothing. They're built from the same assets, and almost all the things inside are the same. They're just rearranged pathways. So, which is the point from the beginning of the video, is that the further away you get from landing zones, the better your FPS will be, and it's mostly CPU dependent. And the good news is, I think the developers are going to add within the next year, if their promise is right, if what they promise is true, that they're going to add DLSS and upscaling technologies. And these are actually really good things for low-end PCs, because I can tell you from playing Dying Light 2 and other games on my old PC, my 7-year-old PC, if I would turn on upscaling, I would get like a bump from 25 FPS to 40, 50 FPS, and I wasn't able to actually see the difference on the screen between upscaling on and upscaling off. So if you just wait a few more months until they get the upscaling technologies in, I think you're going to get an FPS boost even if you're playing on really low computers.